An in-depth analysis of over 1,500 subscription companies shows that SaaS companies with 3 pricing tiers convert at 1.4 times the rate of those with only 2. Not 10%, not 20%, 40% more. Same product, same price points, one extra option. Today, we're breaking down why. Why 2 options, however clean they feel, almost always underperform. And why 3 options activate something specific in the way people decide. And why, past 3, something breaks entirely. The number of choices you offer is not a product decision. It's a behavioral one. Let's break it down. Let's start with 2 options. When you give someone 2 choices, something specific happens. Their brain doesn't evaluate each option independently. It frames them as opposites. Cheap versus expensive, basic versus premium, safe versus risky. And the moment the choice feels binary, it stops feeling like a decision about value. It starts feeling like a statement about who you are. 2 options don't offer a choice. They force a classification. There's also a second problem. With only 2 options, the cheaper one looks cheap. Not affordable, not smart, just cheap. And the expensive one looks excessive, with nothing in between to make it feel justified. There's no reference point, no middle ground, just 2 poles and the discomfort of having to choose one. This is what researchers call decision ambivalence. When neither option clearly dominates, people hesitate. And hesitation in pricing almost always means no sale. So the takeaway, if you are setting prices or building packages, 2 options create ambivalence. The buyer has no safe landing point. If you're offering only 2 tiers and conversions are low, this might be why. Now let's talk about what actually happens when you add a 3rd option. In 2000, psychologists Iyengar and Lepper ran a study that became one of the most cited experiments in behavioral economics. They set up 2 tasting tables in a supermarket. Table A, 24 jams. Table B, 6 jams. Which table attracted more visitors? Table A, 24 jams. More variety, more attention, more stopping. Which table generated more sales? Table B, 6 jams, by a factor of 10. More options attract more attention. Fewer options drive more decisions. But the real question isn't 24 versus 6. The real question is, what's the optimal number? And the answer, across dozens of studies in consumer psychology, converges on the same number: 3. 3 options don't just give people more to choose from, they give people a way to position themselves. The cheapest option defines the floor. The most expensive defines the ceiling. And the middle requires no justification. We broke that down in a wineless video, the compromise effect. When there are 3 options, people systematically gravitate towards the center, not because it's the best value, but because it's the safest choice to defend. Avoiding the cheapest, I'm not cutting on corners. Avoiding the most expensive, I'm not being reckless. Landing in the middle, I made a balanced decision. 3 options create a story the customer can tell themselves. With 3 options, the middle doesn't just exist. It becomes the obvious choice without you ever having to say no. And from a business standpoint, that's where your highest margin offer should live. The takeaway if you are setting prices is that you have to design pricing so that the middle carries your best margins. 3 options activate the compromise effect automatically. You don't need to push. The architecture does the work. So 3 is good, but why not 4? Why not 5? Because past 3, something breaks. In 1952, psychologist Hick published a finding so consistent it became known as the Hick's law. The time it takes to make a decision increases predictably with every option you add. Not linearly, logarithmically, which means the more you add, the slower the decision. And a slow decision in most buying contexts is a deferred decision. Adding options past 3 doesn't help buyers decide. It gives them a reason to wait. There's also a second mechanism. With 4 or more options, the compromise effect breaks down. There's no longer one obvious middle. There are 2, option 2 and option 3. And the moment the customer has to choose between 2 middles, you're back with a binary trap at a higher level of complexity. Ravidar and Itamar Simonson studied this in 2003. They found that adding a 4th option to a range often increased choice deferral, even when the new option was objectively attractive. Not because people didn't want it, because the decision suddenly required more cognitive effort, and effort in a buying moment becomes friction. You want to avoid that. And the takeaway, again, if you're setting prices, is that 4 or more options create cognitive overload, not abundance. If your pricing page has 4 tiers and conversions are dropping, don't add a 5th. Remove the 4th. Earlier, I told you about a company that added 1 option and grew revenue by 32%. Now you know why. 2 options forced the classification. 3 options created a safe landing spot. The middle tier didn't just sell itself, the architecture sold it. The number of options you offer is not a product decision, it's a behavioral one. 2 options, you force a binary choice. 3 options, you activate the compromise effect. 4 or more, you create friction and lose the sale. 3 is not a coincidence, 3 is a structure. Now, you've just learned how to design a pricing structure, but a well-designed structure only works if you have the power to hold it. And most companies don't. Next week, we're going to find out if your company has pricing power. If this kind of analysis is useful to you, whether you're building pricing strategy or just trying to understand the world around you, subscribe to the Pricing Club. New video every Thursday. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.